Is God's existence a matter of knowledge or faith? Welcome to Aquinasaday 14. Happy Feast of the Cura de Ars. I'm Max, and today we ask St. Thomas Aquinas whether it can be demonstrated that God exists, and he shall answer from Prima Pars, Question 2, Article 2. Thus he wrote. We proceed thus to the second article. Objection 1. It seems that the existence of God cannot be demonstrated, for it is an article of faith that God exists. But what is of faith cannot be demonstrated, because a demonstration produces scientific knowledge, whereas faith is of the unseen. Hebrews 11:1. Therefore, it cannot be demonstrated that God exists. Objection 2. Further, the essence is the middle term of demonstration, but we cannot know in what God's essence consists, but solely in what it does not consist, as Damascene says. Therefore, we cannot demonstrate that God exists. Objection 3. Further, if the existence of God were demonstrated, this could only be from his effects. But his effects are not proportionate to him, since he is infinite and his effects are finite. And between the finite and the infinite there is no proportion. Therefore, since a cause cannot be demonstrated by an effect not proportionate to it, it seems that the existence of God cannot be demonstrated. On the contrary, the Apostle says, "The invisible things of him are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made." Romans 1:20. But this would not be unless the existence of God could be demonstrated through the things that are made. For the first thing we must know of anything is whether it exists. I answer that demonstration can be made in two ways. One is through the cause, and is called a priori, and this is to argue from what is prior absolutely. The other is through the effect, and this is called a demonstration a posteriori. This is to argue from what is prior relatively only to us. When an effect is better known to us than its cause, from the cause we proceed from the effect we proceed to knowledge of the cause. And from every effect, the existence of its proper cause can be demonstrated, so long as its effects are better known to us. Because since every effect depends upon its cause, if the effect exists, the cause must pre-exist. Hence, the existence of God, insofar as it is not self-evident to us, can be demonstrated from those of his effects which are known to us. Reply to Objection 1. The existence of God and other like truths about God, which can be known by natural reason, are not articles of faith, but preambles to the articles of faith. For faith presupposes natural knowledge, even as grace presupposes nature, and perfection presupposes something that can be perfected. Nevertheless, there is nothing to prevent a man who cannot grasp a proof accepting, as a matter of faith, something which in itself is capable of being scientifically known and demonstrated. Reply to Objection 2. When the existence of a cause is demonstrated from an effect, this effect takes the place of the definition of the cause in proof of the cause's existence. This is especially the case in regard to God, because in order to prove the existence of anything, it is necessary to accept as a middle term the meaning of the word and not its essence. For the question of its essence follows on the question of its existence. Now the names given to God are derived from his effects. Consequently, in demonstrating the existence of God from his effects, we may take for the middle term the meaning of the word God. Reply to Objection 3. From effects not proportionate to the cause, no perfect knowledge of that cause can be obtained. Yet from every effect, the existence of the cause can be clearly demonstrated. So we can demonstrate the existence of God from his effects, though from them we cannot perfectly know God as he is in his essence. So here Aquinas introduces an interesting concept, the preambles of faith. So what does that mean? What is a preamble of faith? It is an example of the principle introduced in an earlier article that grace perfects nature. And he further comments here, grace presupposes nature. And the grace God gives us in faith produces a certain perfection of the mind, as we have access in faith to things we could never know about God on our own. But that faith presupposes certain things already known to the mind, certain things that are really at the very limits of human reason. And thus we can know God exists and certain other things about him, which we'll get to in later questions. But these things are actually very hard to understand and very hard to get to. And relative to the vastness of God, very little can be known about him, at least compared to the infinite depth of the Supreme Being. So, in faith, the mind has access to those things God knows of himself that we could not know on our own. But again, this knowledge in faith presupposes and perfects the knowledge we have by reason. So reason and faith are not only compatible, but necessarily work together. Thus, we can reason about the things revealed in faith, as we talked about earlier. And also, if someone doesn't have the opportunity or capacity to reason to all the preambles of faith, they can legitimately accept these things on faith. And so we have people who do accept the existence of God on faith, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's important to know that we can actually argue and demonstrate, as Aquinas would put it, scientifically, that God exists. Is that the scientific method? Well, no, but it is the philosophical method, which, if you're going to follow St. Thomas Aquinas, it has its own legitimacy, and it gives people real access to truth. So we can know God exists. And I think that's sufficient for today. So comment below on your thoughts about the relationship of faith and reason. Subscribe, because tomorrow we're going to see Aquinas' proofs for the existence of God. So that will be a fun discussion. And like if you like, remember, Aquinasaday keeps the heretics away. See ya.